Hey friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today we have a special collaboration between Heffy Doodle and Miss Ink Stamps, and it is a blog hop, so I'll have that information linked down below. But let's go ahead and take a look at the products we're going to be using today. I have this super beautiful Mountainside stamp set by Miss Ink Stamps, and I knew that it would just pair so perfectly with the Heffy Doodle Hootiful stamps and dies, so I pulled those out. I also pulled out the stitched circle dies, and I have the Raise the Roof stencil that I plan to use. I'm going to pull in another stamp set later on called Bold Banner. We're also going to be using the alcohol marker friendly cardstock by Heffy Doodle and this gorgeous Miss Ink Stamps Mermaid Lagoon Dazzle Dust, which is some glitter, but it just kind of changes in the light and it is stunning. Alright, I've taken that alcohol marker cardstock and I've put that into my Misty, and I'm going to grab the Mountainside stamp and put that more towards the top, and then I'll grab out a few little images from the Hootiful stamps and dies. And then I'm going to ink those up with my Ink on 3 Blackout ink. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite inks for alcohol marker coloring because it dries so quickly. And then we're going to get started with our coloring. So I'll try my best to put the colors up on the screen, and then we'll talk about those as we go. But like I said, this is actually a part of a blog hop, and so I went ahead and made a video for it anyway. I'm going to have my blog linked down below, so you're going to want to head there so that you can find the rest of the teams, because it's both Miss Ink Stamps and Heffy Doodle's design teams have gotten together, and we've combined some of the stamp sets just to see what we could come up with and hopefully inspire you to combine what you have and, go from there. But you are definitely going to want to go check out what both teams have done, because I think you're going to be hopefully very inspired. Alright, so I've pulled in the G29. I know that looks like it really doesn't go with the BG96 that I first put down, but hold tight as we blend those out a little bit. So I'll bring in that BG96 again. It starts to really come together. I love doing this with my Copics, sometimes grabbing colors that are kind of close but not really, and just seeing where I can go with that. And so I'm going to do that with both trees, and then we'll end up with these really pretty pine trees, and it'll look really pretty in this winter scene. Those trees are in the far back, so I'm just going to use the G29 for those. My mountains, I'm starting with some BV31. Sorry that's not up on the screen, but that's the BV31. I tend to go lightest to darkest most of the time. Very rarely do I go darkest to lightest. I will do that here in a second, but usually it's lightest to darkest. And then we have the V25 that we're layering on top of that BV31, and then we'll blend that out again using the BV31. And then I'm going to come in with the C3 Copic. This is where I grab my dark one first, and then come in with the C1 for the snow underneath. We're also going to use those same colors for our owls. We're going to have these be little snow owls, since this is supposed to be a winter scene. I thought that would be fun. And so I'll bring in that C3 and then blend that out with that C1. And it's super simple coloring that I'm doing here. It isn't requiring a whole lot of effort, and I'm using a lot of flicking motions. For his beak, we're using E99 and their claws. And then for our tree stump, we're using E23. And then we're going to come in with some E57 as our darker tone. We will blend that out just a little bit so that it's not quite as harsh. Depending on what you're going for, you may want to leave it that way. And then I'm going to set those off to the side after we get our trunks done, because we're done with our coloring. That was super simple. I just have some watercolor cardstock here. Any kind of cardstock would really do. And I've pulled in some Simon Hurley Create inks. This first one's called Remember Me. And Miles, of course, since there's an ink pad out, wants to come see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to bring in some Midnight Snack. He does make me a little nervous with his paws all close to those ink pads, but I know what he really wants is just the cap to my blender brush. So I'm kind of just letting him go, because I think if I grab him, he'll struggle a little because he really wants that cap. And all I'm really doing is just blending back and forth, trying to make a sky. So I've got that darker color on the top, and I've got the Remember Me towards the bottom. And just blending, blending, blending. And this is the piece of cardstock that I'm going to use the stitch circle dies on. And here is Max coming in to see now as well. He jumped up on my lap. These boys, I tell you, They are so nosy, and I actually kind of love it. So they're very much into all this. I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. And then it's not going to fit through my mini die cutting machine by Heffy Doodle, but this will work. And I'm going to take my Raise the Roof stencil, put some pixie spray on that outside, and then I'll bring that back in, and that way it'll just kind of secure it down to my circle a little bit better. I'm going to do something a little different here, and I'm just going to pour some glue right onto my spatula. I couldn't think of any other product that I had that would work. Probably tons of products that I have would actually work, but this, I just wanted to put a little bit of glue down because this is where I'm going to take that Mermaid Lagoon Dazzle dust and cover that with it. And it is going to stick everywhere, even in between the rays, but once this dries, I can just take a dry paintbrush and flick it away. And I know some of you are like, oh my gosh, glitter, it gets everywhere, but you know what's crazy is I really didn't have it anywhere. I didn't even have it on my hands. I was surprised. And I just love this Dazzle dust because it really does kind of change in the light. All right, so what I've done after I ran everything through the die cutting machine with their matching dies is I am fussy cutting around the trees, just the upper portion of the landscape. This is going to sit on top of that little circle scene that I made for my night sky, and it's going to look pretty cool. So I did use that stitch circle on both of those, but take a look at that. As you shift it, it's purple, it's teal, it's black. I love it. For our card base, I have some white cardstock that I've cut down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4.25 inches. We're going to take a couple of our elements and we're going to put those right on the inside because I do like to decorate the insides of my cards. So I've got a tree stump. I'm going to put that down in that lower corner, and then this little owl is going to sit right on top of that stump. And there's Miles again. Loves caps. And here is where I bring in that bold banner sentiment, and I'm going to just ink that up with my ink on 3 blackout ink. Close the door of the Misty, and it stamped beautifully. So I'll clean that off, and then I'm going to put the inside of my card in there, and I'm going to grab the scene again. So we're grabbing the mountainside scene. I am going to close the door of the Misty. It's going to be on that left-hand side of the card when you open it up. And then I'm going to ink that up using my Simon Hurley Create Midnight Snack. So it's a very dark blue, very pretty, and everything will just kind of go together and be nice and cohesive. So we have this cute little scene on the inside of our card as well. I'm going to run the sentiments through my Heffy Doodle mini die cutting machine with their matching dies. And then I'll take one of those and I'll just glue that to the inside of the card. So we've got Sending Love, and then we're going to be ready to start assembling the outside of the card. So here I'll take that liquid glue. You'd want something probably pretty substantial because you're putting it over the top of glitter. And so I'm just going to put that down on top of that, and then I'm going to lay a couple of stamp blocks on it just to make sure that it adheres very nicely to that circle panel that I have. And then, well, after I attach it to the card base itself with some more of that liquid glue. And then while that is drying with the stamp block on it, I'll put some foam tape on the back of my owl. And then we're going to pop him up in the scene. So it'll look like he's flying through that mountainside scene. I love that. And then for our Thinking of You, we're also going to put some foam tape on the back of it. And I'm going to grab out my T-ruler to make sure that I don't put that sentiment down crooked, because I have certainly done that. And then I'll try and center that up the best I can. And once I'm done with that, that's going to finish off our card. So like I said, it's part of a blog hop. Head down to my description box where you'll find all the products that I used along with the link to my blog. So you can head there and you can check out what everybody else has made. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.